She texted, I charged $5,000 on your card. You earn enough. I replied, hope you had a blast. A year later, I watched her learn what accountability really costs. When people ask how long we'd been together, I always say almost 3 years. But in truth, the relationship had been over somewhere around the 2-year mark. I just didn't notice it yet. Her name's Melissa, 31, marketing freelancer, full of charm and caffeine. I met her when she was freelancing for a small branding project at my firm. She had this chaotic energy, the kind of person who lived on impulse and somehow always landed on her feet. I was 34, steady, pragmatic, the kind of man who budgets groceries by category and files receipts by date. We joked that she was the storm and I was the roof that kept it from tearing the house apart. At first, it worked. She made me feel alive. I made her feel safe. That's the trade-off, right? You think it's balance, until one day you realize safety was never what you wanted. It was just the temporary rest stop between disasters. We moved in together about a year in. My place. I didn't think much of adding her name to a few things, my streaming accounts, the gym membership, even the secondary card on my Amex. It wasn't a blank check, but it was convenience. She insisted she'd pay me back for her charges every month. And for a while, she did, sporadically, casually, but enough to keep me from thinking twice. Looking back, I can pinpoint the moment the shift started. Around last December, she began calling me stable in the same tone people use for boring. She'd say things like, you always play it so safe. It's sweet. But don't you ever just want to do something wild? I thought she was joking. Then she started spending weekends with new friends, people I'd never met, with names like Ash and Tay, people who lived on Instagram stories and manifestation energy. I'd see clips of their girls' nights, hotel bars, champagne bottles, captions like no regrets, just receipts nail polish. She told me it was networking. For clients, she'd say, rolling her eyes when I asked. I didn't want to be that guy, so I trusted her. Trust, it's not about naivety. It's about assuming the person beside you values the same ground you stand on. February came, and she mentioned Vegas. It's just a few days. Ash got us a deal. We're doing a girls' trip. No guys, no work, just vibes. I remember I was cooking when she said it. Chicken, white wine sauce, and she kissed me from behind. You'll miss me, right? I said I would. I meant it. The week before the trip, she asked casually, hey, my card's acting weird. Can I use yours for the hotel deposit? It'll refund after checkout. The old me, the one before all this, said sure, just text me the total. I didn't even check the card balance. Why would I? I'd known her for years. We'd shared everything from beds to bills. She left on a Thursday morning, suitcase in hand, wearing that Vegas uniform. Oversized sunglasses, sparkly top, confidence that could blind you. She texted me at the airport, a kiss emoji, then radio silence for almost a day. Friday night, she posted a story, her and her friends in a limo, drinks, lights, music. I watched it twice. Not because I was jealous, because something felt off. That kind of off you can't explain, you just feel it in your chest. Saturday, I woke up early and checked my credit card statement out of idle curiosity. The first thing I noticed was the total, $5,237.19. Hotel, restaurants, a boutique store called Lure, 2 clubs, and a charge from a spa that made me blink, $1,100 for full-day couples treatment. I stared at that one for a long time. Couples treatment. My first instinct wasn't anger. It was denial. Maybe it's an error. Maybe it's a group booking. I called the card company. The rep on the other end confirmed the charges were authorized and verified via mobile confirmation, meaning she'd approved them herself. It was like a quiet click inside me. The kind of sound a lock makes when it closes, not when it opens. That evening, I texted her, hey, did you mean to use my card for all this stuff in Vegas? She didn't reply right away. Then, at 11:47 p.m., I got the message that still sits saved in my phone. Yeah, lol, I charged $5,000 on your credit card during my Vegas trip. Don't worry, you earn enough face-blowing a kiss. I read it twice, then 3 times. Something about the way she phrased it, like it was a joke, a flex. Like she'd decided that my effort, my work, my stability, all the things she once said she admired, were now her personal ATM. My response was automatic, almost detached. Hope you had a blast. Then I placed the phone down, opened my laptop, and began typing a report on the Amex website. Unauthorized use of card, suspect known. It felt surreal, clinical. I uploaded screenshots of her texts, the transaction history, even the Instagram story where she tagged the hotel. When the confirmation email hit my inbox, I called the local police department's non-emergency line. Calmly, I explained the situation, the evidence, the location of the hotel she was staying in. The officer asked if I wanted to press charges. Yes, I said, surprising even myself with how steady it came out. There was no yelling, no crying, no grand emotional moment. Just silence. The kind that follows when something inside you, something naive, finally dies for good. The officer called me back the next morning. He introduced himself as Detective Harris, Financial Crimes Division. His voice had that calm, clipped tone of someone who's seen every version of this story before. "We verified your report and contacted the hotel," he said. "Your card's still being used for the room. We'll send a unit to speak with the guest." It was surreal, hearing that. Not in a revenge fantasy kind of way. It was more like watching a line being drawn, neatly, precisely, between what used to be us and what had now become her and the police. I thanked him, hung up, and went through my morning routine like I always did. Coffee, shower, the quiet hum of the espresso machine. Except this time, there was a stillness I couldn't shake. It wasn't satisfaction. It was grief, disguised as clarity. By noon, Harris called again. "We spoke with her," he said. "She denied making the purchases, but we showed her the screenshots you submitted. She didn't realize her texts could be considered written admission." There was a pause. I could almost hear his smirk. "She's been asked to come in for questioning. I'd recommend freezing any joint accounts if you have them." I already had. The thing about being this stable one in a relationship is that you often end up with systems. Organized folders, backup drives, clean records. I had every financial statement archived from the last 2 years, the kind of proof most people don't bother keeping. Now, it made all the difference. That night, she finally called. Her voice was small, a brittle whisper under the weight of forced calm. "Why are there cops at my hotel, Ryan?" I didn't answer immediately. I let the silence hang, heavy and uncomfortable. "You reported me? Are you serious?" "It was just some charges. I was going to pay you back. You told me." "Don't worry, you earn enough." She exhaled sharply, like I'd stabbed her with her own words. "Oh my God, it was a joke. You always take everything so literally. You took my money literally. You used my name, my card, my trust. So yeah, I'm taking this literally." The call ended with her yelling, her voice breaking into that mix of anger and panic that people get when their confidence starts to crack. I didn't block her, not yet. I wanted everything documented. By morning, I had a dozen messages waiting for me. Screenshots of her friends texting her things like "WTF girl?" and "They said you could go to jail for that." Then one from her: "You don't have to ruin my life over this. It's just money. Just money." That line stuck with me. People always say it's just money when it's not theirs. Detective Harris kept me updated over the next few days. Melissa had been questioned, released pending further investigation, and warned that if the bank confirmed fraud, charges would be filed. Meanwhile, I started quietly disentangling everything. Her name off the apartment lease. Her access removed from my Netflix, utilities, everything digital. I changed my passwords, my locks, even my grocery store rewards card just to feel clean again. It wasn't rage, it was sanitation. About a week later, she showed up at my building. I watched her from the lobby camera before she even buzzed up. She looked smaller somehow. Hoodie, no makeup, eyes red. "Ryan, please," she said through the intercom. "Can we talk?" I pressed the button and said, evenly, "Anything you need to say it through my lawyer." Her face twisted in disbelief, then disgust. She started crying, then shouting, calling me heartless, vindictive, cold. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd finally learned how to be cold. But cold isn't cruelty. It's survival when warmth keeps getting used against you. A week later, I got an official letter from the credit card company. They'd ruled the transactions as fraudulent and refunded the full amount. Attached was a note confirming the evidence had been shared with law enforcement. Melissa's final text came a few days later. "I never meant for it to go this far. I just thought you'd be mad. Not this. You've changed." I didn't reply, because she was right. I had changed. Not because I'd wanted to, but because trust is a muscle, and she'd torn it past the point of recovery. That night, I sat in my living room, laptop open, filing the last bit of paperwork for the case. I looked at our old photos in the cloud drive before deleting them. Birthdays, dinners, vacations, tiny snapshots of two people who once thought they were partners. For a moment, I felt the faintest pang of nostalgia, not for her, but for who I was when I believed she cared. Then I closed the folder, exhaled, and whispered to no one in particular. Hope you had a blast. Update 1. It's been about 6 weeks since that night. You'd think after reporting your ex for fraud and having the police show up at her hotel, things would go quiet. But the silence after chaos isn't peace. It's paperwork, awkward texts from mutual friends, and the slow realization that people will pick sides no matter how much evidence you have. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Detective Harris called me mid-March to confirm that the DA's office had accepted the case. Since the total exceeded $5,000 and involved clear digital proof, it qualified as a felony charge of credit card fraud. He didn't sound pleased or vindictive, just procedural. To him, I was case file hashtag 427, FC 2025. He told me Melissa had been formally charged and released on bail. When he said it, I pictured her standing in that sterile booking room, holding the placard, trying to remember how she ended up there because of a joke. I didn't celebrate. I didn't post anything. I just forwarded the email to my lawyer and went back to work. The social fallout came next, the part they never warn you about. Melissa had always been good at curating her image. Within days, she'd posted an Instagram story. Some people will destroy your reputation to feel like heroes. But truth always wins kiss mark. The comments were predictable, supportive emojis, heart reactions, a few digs at me. She'd quietly unfollowed me, but kept the people who knew both of us. Strategic as always. Friends started reaching out. Hey man, I don't want to get involved, but did you really call the cops on her? I sent them a single screenshot, the $5000 message. No explanation. Some went silent after that. Others apologized. It didn't matter. You can't convince people who are addicted to drama that you're not the villain. You can only stop auditioning for the role. A month after the report, my lawyer suggested mediation. Apparently, Melissa's attorney had reached out, offering a settlement to avoid trial. She'd pay restitution in installments, and I'd drop the criminal complaint. I declined, not out of revenge, but because it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about consequence. For years, I'd been the guy who fixed everything. The calm voice, the problem solver, the one who smoothed over her impulsive mistakes. Every time I forgave her, I taught her that I'd keep forgiving. Not this time. When my lawyer relayed my refusal, he told me she cried in the meeting. She said you were the one person she thought would understand. He added, his tone neutral. I didn't answer. Understanding someone isn't the same as excusing them. That same week, I ran into one of her friends, Tay, the Vegas crew, at a cafe downtown. She spotted me first. There was an awkward pause before she approached. She's a mess, you know, Tay said, sipping her iced latte. She didn't think it'd go this far. She thought you'd just be mad for a while. She stole $5,000. I said, yeah, but she didn't see it that way. You were always the responsible one. She thought you'd handle it. That word, handle, landed like a stone. It summed up the entire relationship. She made messes, and I handled them. Tay hesitated, then added softly, she's crashing with Ash now. Lost a couple clients. People are talking. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to know. Because the truth was, part of me still cared. Not romantically, not even emotionally. Just that dull, stubborn empathy that doesn't die easily. The same instinct that makes you worry about a fire even after you've escaped the building. 2 weeks ago, Harris called again. Looks like she took a plea deal, he said. Reduced charge, restitution, probation. No jail time, but a record. It was over. Legally, at least. I hung up, walked to the balcony, and just stood there. The city below me buzzed like nothing had happened. The wind was sharp, spring sunlight hitting the glass towers. I checked my phone. Her Instagram was gone, deleted or deactivated. No new number, no apology, no closure. Just absence. And in that absence, I finally felt something I hadn't in months. Peace. Not happiness, just quiet. That night, I found the old Amex card in a drawer, the one she'd used in Vegas. I held it for a long time. It wasn't rage or nostalgia, just reflection. That small piece of plastic had become a symbol of everything wrong between us. Trust used as currency, love mistaken for permission. I took it to the balcony, bent it slowly until it snapped in half, and let the pieces fall into the trash. Then I poured myself a drink, scrolled through Zillow listings, and saw a penthouse for rent across town. Sunlight, open view, clean start. I didn't even think twice. I signed the lease the next morning. When I moved in, I brought only essentials: clothes, books, my laptop, and silence. No shared furniture, no reminders, no ghosts of what used to be ours. The first night, I stood by the window, city lights below, quiet above. Somewhere out there, Melissa was probably telling her version of the story, one where she was the misunderstood free spirit and I was the cold-hearted accountant who ruined her life. Maybe both versions were true, in their own way. All I know is this: sometimes, closure doesn't come with an apology. It comes with a case number, a clean bank statement, and the ability to sleep without checking your phone for damage. Final update that it's been almost a year since the Vegas trip. If you'd told me back then that I'd end up here, writing this from a sunlit office on the 20th floor, coffee in hand, quiet music playing, I probably would have laughed. Or worse, I would have said something like, "That's too good for me." Because for a long time, I believed peace was something you had to earn by saving other people. Turns out, it's something you earn by finally stopping. I moved into the penthouse last summer. It's not enormous, but it's mine. Clean lines, big windows, no shared drawers. The silence is intentional. It's not loneliness anymore, it's space. I took time off from dating. That wasn't some grand vow of bitterness. I just wanted to sit with myself. Learn what I sound like when I'm not explaining, apologizing, or negotiating my own worth. Work's been good. Better, even. When you stop constantly worrying about someone else's crisis, you realize how much energy you get back. Promotions come easier when you're not covering emotional overdrafts. But the strangest thing? I've become calmer. Not colder, just measured. When people cross lines now, I don't raise my voice. I just make decisions. Boundaries are like passwords. Once they're leaked, you don't reuse them. I didn't hear from Melissa for almost 9 months. Then, last month, she texted from a new number. It was late, 11:22 p.m., and the name didn't register at first. "Hey, it's me. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what I did. I'm in therapy now, trying to fix things." I stared at the message for a while. There was no part of me that wanted revenge anymore. Just clarity. I typed, "I appreciate the message. I hope you keep fixing things." Then I hit send. No follow-up, no small talk, no rehashing. Just an ending, simple, dignified, clean. She never replied. I think that was her way of respecting it. A few weeks later, I ran into her by accident. Grocery store, middle of a Tuesday, both of us in the self-checkout line. She looked human. Not broken, not glowing, just ordinary. Hair shorter, dark circles under her eyes, hands trembling slightly as she scanned items. Our eyes met. There was a flicker of recognition, a small nod, nothing more. I didn't feel triumph. Just distance, the good kind. The kind you get from finally being on solid ground again. As I left, she called after me, quietly. "Ryan." I turned. "I really did think you'd just handle it," she said. "Back then, I didn't know how to be accountable. You made me see it." Her voice wasn't manipulative this time. It was honest, maybe even grateful. I nodded. "Good. Don't waste it." Then I left. No movie ending, no music swelling in the background. Just the sound of sliding doors and the faint beeping of a register. Back home, I poured a drink and stood by the window. The same view where, a year ago, I'd watched her life unravel from a distance. Now I didn't watch anyone. I just looked at the city, at the lights, at myself reflected in the glass. Justice had come and gone months ago. What stayed was something quieter, the understanding that closure isn't a door that slams. It's one you learn to stop knocking on. People online love to talk about winning breakups, about getting even, glowing up, moving on. But winning isn't watching someone crash. It's waking up without the urge to check if they did. It's realizing that peace isn't revenge. It's reclamation. Sometimes I still think about that night. The text, the $5,000, the message that broke whatever faith I had left. And every time I do, I remember my reply. "Hope you had a blast." It used to be sarcasm. Now it's almost mercy. Because I did have a blast, not watching her fall, but watching myself rebuild. Slowly, carefully, brick by brick. And maybe that's the quiet truth about all this. When someone uses you like a resource, and you finally stop giving, they call it cruelty. But it's actually rebirth. A few nights ago, I got home late, rain hitting the glass, city lights soft and blurred. I poured coffee instead of whiskey, opened the balcony door, and let the wind in. Somewhere below, I could hear the noise of downtown. Cars, laughter, life moving on. I smiled, just slightly, and thought to myself, hope you had a blast. And for the first time, I meant it.